Ticket number 317, next applicant, please. The moment I heard that, my heart reacted first. The door of Bucheon City Hall's civil service office chimed open, and a cold draft brushed my face. The cuffs of my worn-out coat still smelled faintly of detergent. And I pulled my wrinkled hat lower out of habit. People glanced at me briefly, but only one man met my eyes. "Are you all right, ma'am?" he asked, and somehow, that single line felt warm. I smiled to myself. Maybe this is the man I can trust with my daughter's life. Why I came here dressed like a homeless woman, let me tell you now. You're listening to Silver Story Tree, where the voices of life's late chapters gently bloom again. Subscribe, like, and turn on the bell to hear more heartfelt stories that grow with time. The automatic door opened with a sound as a cold breeze brushed against my nose. I never thought I would be in this kind of disguise at over 70 years old. A tattered wool coat, a crumpled hat, and an old cloth bag, the perfect homeless person outfit. Standing at the entrance of Bucheon City Hall's civil service office, I felt a wave of nervousness. This was the most unusual disguise in my life. As a department store group chairwoman, "Take a number," said an employee in an indifferent tone. I took a number with nervous hands, 317. The civil service office was bustling with people, walking through crowds who wrinkled their noses. As if I smelled bad made my heart heavy. I realized that people who look like this must endure such stares every day. "Do you have your documents, elderly one?" a young male employee asked while avoiding eye contact. I felt disappointed by his attitude, not even making eye contact. That's when it happened. "Feel free to speak comfortably," said a man at another counter with warm eyes. I saw him filling a paper cup with water and offering it to me. Ah, so this was Park. Do-yoon, my daughter Jia's lover and the prospective son-in-law I was here to test today. "Thank you," I answered with a trembling voice. I confirmed that a plastic bag from Bucheon Station North Market was sticking out of my bag. Details matter. Just then, a tall man cut in. "You need to go to the welfare department for that," he said, waving me away and turning his back. It was team leader Choi Sang-gon, the face I recognized from my research. His cold demeanor without even properly looking at me troubled me. "Team leader, please speak more kindly," Yoon-gui Rai, the volunteer guide, muttered softly. I felt her empathy in that voice. This was a good start. I could already see who was a genuine public servant. My heart was racing, but I maintained my composure. It was all to test my prospective son-in-law. No, I was beginning to see something bigger than that now. Do-yoon opened his computer and handed me a printout, saying, "Here are the residence subsidy regulations." I could feel sincerity in his eyes. My hand trembled slightly as I received the paper. It wasn't acting but a genuine emotion, a warmth I hadn't felt in a long time. Sang-gon frowned with displeasure. His expression said a lot, an authoritative and unfriendly attitude, and eyes that seemed to be hiding something. As the 1432 receipt stamp marked my document, my fingertips paused momentarily. I need to remember this time. It could be crucial evidence. Even at over 70, I hadn't lost my habit of noticing details, an old executive's habit. And so the first test began. It was time to see who truly upheld principles and saw people for who they were. My heart fluttered in excitement I hadn't felt in a long time. What kind of person was my daughter in love with? And how much corruption might be hidden within this city hall? I was curious about what would unfold. Civil petition number 317, please come to counter 3. The announcement echoed through the civil service office. Sitting on an old chair waiting, I observed my surroundings, people's expressions, staff movements, everything registered in my eyes. The keen observation skills I'd developed while managing a department store group hadn't faded. Do-yoon quietly approached me. "Take a look at this regulations booklet. If you change this to a request for information disclosure, it'll be processed faster." I took the booklet he offered. It was impressive how he showed kindness to me, someone he thought was just observing anonymously. I could feel his sincerity. With trembling hands, I filled out the application form. It wasn't intentional, I was genuinely nervous. Blue pen ink blotted on the paper. Little did I know then that this stain would later become important evidence. Life is so unpredictable. From the corner of the civil service office, I noticed team leader Sang-gon talking with a man in a black suit. They were whispering something to each other. "Let's handle that case externally," I heard Sang-gon say quietly. I instinctively felt something wrong was happening. That man approached me. The eyes of the broker-like man made me uncomfortable. "Grandma, if you give me a small fee, I can help you get ahead in line," he whispered. A chill ran down my spine. I couldn't believe this was happening openly in a public institution. That's when Do-yoon stepped in firmly. "This is a public institution. Such talk is unacceptable," he said. There was determination in his voice. He was a person of principles. As a potential son-in-law, he was making a good impression. I smiled inwardly. My prospective son-in-law upholds principles. This test is off to a good start. I felt relieved inside but kept my expression hidden. I still needed to observe more. I saw volunteer guide Young-gui Rai picking up the broker's business card and tucking it under the reception desk. I could sense justice in her eyes. It was reassuring to see that there were still conscientious people here. The afternoon sunlight came through the civil service office window. Watching dust particles dance in the light, I became lost in thought. What was happening in this civil service office was becoming something beyond a simple test for a prospective son-in-law. I sensed a bigger problem lurking. Just then, my eyes turned toward the CCTV blind spot. I saw a white envelope slide into Sang-gon's drawer as if slipping. My heart beat faster. I needed evidence. I needed to take photos. Quietly, I took out my phone and opened the camera app. My hands were shaking, but I acted as naturally as possible. The experience of living in the business world, all my life, helped in moments like this. Calmly, I angled the camera and took several photos. A plan began forming in my mind. What started as a simple test for my prospective son-in-law was now expanding into exposing public service corruption. A sense of justice burned in my heart. I never thought I'd be doing something like this at my age. But I was determined to do what I could. I made up my mind. In the civil service office, as the afternoon deepened, I planned my next steps. Now I needed to be more than just an observer. I needed to be someone who takes action. Deep down, I was proud of Do-yoon. I thought my jaw had found a good person. But I still needed to watch more. The real test was just beginning. I had made up my mind. Observation alone wasn't enough anymore. I stood up and headed to the reception counter. My legs trembled slightly, but I walked with dignity. Throughout my life as an executive, it had always been like this at moments of important decisions. Justice prevailed over fear. "I'd like to submit a request for information, disclosure and a request for CCTV preservation," I said calmly. Do-yoon's expression showed slight surprise. I could read the question in his eyes. "You know administrative procedures well, Elder," Do-yoon said, his eyes wide. He seemed puzzled by the inconsistency between my appearance and actions. It must have been suspicious to him that a homeless-looking elderly woman knew exactly about administrative procedures. But he professionally guided me with kindness. "Without evidence, suspicions are just rumors," I said. I turned on my phone's recording app and took photos of the broker's business card and envelope locations. One thing I've learned in the business world is the importance of evidence. I knew to fight with facts, not emotions. I sent an anonymous email to the City Hall's audit office. Whistleblowing wasn't an easy decision, but I was convinced it was the right thing to do. Having lived by principles all my life, I couldn't turn a blind eye to corruption. Sang-gon called Do-yoon over. "Submit the approval. This case, wrap it up quickly." I could feel the pressure in his voice. He seemed to be rushing something, probably attempting to eliminate evidence. The tension increased as I put the stamped documents into an envelope. I checked the timestamp, 14:32, again. I had a hunch this small time mark would later become important evidence. My experience as an executive seemed to shine at moments like this. Do-yoon looked at Sang-gon with a firm face and said, "I will proceed according to regulations." There was a determination to uphold principles in his voice. I felt relieved inside. My daughter Ja had found a good person. I heard the clink sound of a coin falling in the corridor vending machine. I stood by the window with a can of drink I'd pulled. Outside, the sun was beginning to set. The day was coming to an end, but my plan was just beginning. I noticed night access log appearing on a computer monitor. It was evidence that someone was accessing the system against regulations. My heart beat rapidly. This wasn't just simple corruption but a systemic issue. Leaving the civil service office, my feelings were complicated. What had started as a simple plan to test my prospective son-in-law was now expanding into a bigger matter of justice. What would my daughter Ja think about this situation? She always disliked how I tested people. But this time was different. This wasn't just a test but a matter of justice. Looking out the window in the taxi back to the hotel, I was lost in thought. I resolved to prepare more thoroughly for tomorrow. I wanted to see this through to the end. I had lived my life as a successful businesswoman. But at this moment, what I needed to do was uphold justice and principles. I realized that as I grew older, values like justice and principle became even more important. Removing my homeless disguise in the hotel room, I planned for tomorrow. I needed to be more thorough this time. My prospective son-in-law, Park Do-yoon, had shown a good side so far. But the real test was yet to come. I was curious what choice he would make. The next day, raindrops trickled down the glass windows of the civil service office. I came in slightly more presentable clothes today, but still maintained the appearance of an ordinary elderly person. Looking at the rain outside, I thought that truth, like these raindrops, would eventually find its way and flow down. I heard that an audit officer had made an unofficial visit. Volunteer Young Gui Rai informed me in a low voice. Yesterday's CCTV footage has been backed up. I felt relieved at those words. It was evidence that my efforts hadn't been in vain. Gui Rai continued to provide information. I heard the broker met with the team leader at Jungang Cafe Street yesterday. Hearing this, I developed deeper suspicions. This wasn't a one-time incident but an ongoing corruption. My heart grew heavy. I also heard that Do-yoon had submitted an internal approval line, but it was rejected midway. I sensed someone was deliberately interfering. Do-yoon's expression looked sterner than yesterday. He seemed to be under pressure. My phone rang. Looking at the screen, it was Executive Director Seo Jin-woo. He was an executive in our group who had been eyeing my retirement for some time. "If you don't approve the merger, it will be troublesome," he said. There was a threatening tone in his voice. The timing was suspicious. Was there some connection? This test was no longer a simple verification of a prospective son-in-law. I was beginning to see a bigger picture. It seemed like a power struggle within the company, and public service corruption were connected. My heart beat rapidly. This was a far more complex situation than I had anticipated. Another call came in. This time it was my daughter, Ja. "Mom, please stop testing people again." There was concern in her voice. My daughter knew me too well. She had probably guessed that I was testing Do-yoon. "It's not a test, but a verification," I replied. I couldn't explain in detail to Ja yet. It wasn't the right time. I didn't want to worry my daughter. This was something I had to resolve on my own. The audit officer's words echoed in my mind. There are traces of night access from the team leader's account. This was decisive evidence of system manipulation. My guess had been right. Sang-gon had tried to destroy evidence. Leaning against the window of the civil service office, I looked at the outside scenery. The raindrops flowing down the glass reflected my feelings. On one hand, I felt clarity, but on the other, a heavy sense of responsibility. I felt a mission to see this through to the end. There were moments like this when I was building the company in my younger days too. Moments when I had to make important decisions, when the responsibility to do the right thing weighed heavily. But each time, I made the right choice, and that made me who I am today. It would be the same this time. "Tonight, we will catch the cash exchange scene," the audit officer said with confidence. Tonight seemed like it would be a critical moment. I had to complete all preparations. As I left the civil service office, I resolved that tonight I would reveal everything and set justice right. And in that process, I would watch what choice Do-yoon made. The real test was just beginning. The rain had stopped, and sunlight began to shine through the clouds. It felt like a good omen. I headed to the North Market Alley near Bucheon Station. The streets were wet after the rain, but the air was clear. I came out to personally verify the CCTV positions. Normally, I would have delegated this task to my secretary, but this time I needed to step up personally. It was too important. Amidst the noise and smells of the market alley and the murmurs of people, I quietly observed. I had a feeling something important would happen here. I found and confirmed the CCTV locations. Everything was within my sight. That's when De-yoon appeared. His expression was resolute. As a public official, I cannot stand by anymore, he said. There was conviction in his voice. De-yoon seemed to have already made up his mind. I could see his determination to find evidence and uphold justice. I handed over the serial numbers of marked 50,001 bills to the audit officer. These were bills I had prepared in advance. It was a device to track the flow of cash that would be exchanged as bribes. The know-how I learned throughout my business life shone in moments like this. In a corner of the alley, the moment came when Sang-gun met with the broker. I held my breath. The moment a white envelope changed hands. There was a click sound of a camera shutter. It was the moment evidence was captured. My heart beat rapidly. Sang-gun's face turned pale. Because of my father's dialysis costs. His eyes reddened. It was an excuse, but there was genuine pain in his voice. My feelings became complicated for a moment. Everyone has their own story. But that cannot justify breaking the law. I understand your circumstances, but the law knows no exceptions, I replied. It might have sounded cold, but principles had to be upheld. That was the value I had maintained throughout my life. The audit team arrived. The serial numbers and CCTV timing matched. It was perfect evidence. Sang-gun could no longer deny it. His shoulders drooped. De-yoon blocked the team leader's way and said, falsifying approvals is a serious crime. There was a determination to uphold principles in his voice. As a prospective son-in-law, no, as a person, he had made the right choice. Just then, Executive Director Jin-woo called. Chairwoman, what is all this about? There was bewilderment in his voice. It seemed someone had leaked information internally. Perhaps Jin-woo was implicated in this corruption. Everything was clear now. My simple plan to test De-yoon had now become a big wave of anti-corruption. It was a moment of justice. Created together by the audit officer, De-yoon, and myself. It was time to take off my hat. Then, I should reveal my identity first. I said, slowly removing my hat. It was time to step forward not as a homeless person anymore, but as Han Jung-ok, the department store group chairwoman. As I removed my hat, the attention around turned to me. De-yoon's eyes widened. The moment he recognized my identity, his expression was full of surprise. But soon that surprise turned into understanding. He seemed to have realized why I had done all this. The civil service office was in an uproar. The moment my identity was revealed, everyone's eyes turned toward me. De-yoon stood there in a daze. The disbelief was evident in his eyes. It must have been a huge shock to him. That the homeless person in disguise was actually the chairwoman of a department store group. It wasn't because you're a prospective son-in-law, but because I wanted to see the face of honest administration, I said calmly. My voice did not tremble. There was a firmness that reflected my life as an executive, who had made important decisions all her life. Sang-gun hung his head and sobbed. I will accept the punishment, he said. There was a sense of defeat in his voice. Only then did I understand how much pressure he had lived under. His father's dialysis costs, debt, and temptation. All those things must have led him down this path. A person like you deserves a chance for recovery, I said warmly. While punishment is important, I believed in giving opportunities for recovery and improvement. It was a lesson I learned throughout my life in management. Everyone can make mistakes, but they need a chance to acknowledge and correct those mistakes. Executive Director Jin-woo called urgently. The press will break this soon. His voice was threatening. Perhaps there were aspects disadvantageous to him. If this incident became public, it was a moment that further confirmed his involvement in this corruption. Only those who fear the truth are afraid of the press, I answered firmly. Having lived by principles all my life, I had nothing to fear. Truth always finds a way to shine. De-yoon's eyes sparkled. His expression showed determination. Everyone must be equal before the law, he said. He was a person of principles. I was glad my jaw had found a good person. Gui Rai held my hand tightly. Chairwoman, you're amazing. I could feel respect in her eyes. It was a moment of confirmation that what I had done was right. Choosing people means standing on the side of the weak. It has been my life's philosophy. Choosing principles and justice, not power or Status, that's what I believe to be the true stance of a leader. Through this incident, I was able to reconfirm that value for myself. The atmosphere in the civil service office began to settle down. People's gazes were still directed at me, but now those gazes contained respect and surprise. The twist that the homeless grandmother in disguise was actually the chairwoman of a large corporation must have been like a drama moment for them. That's when I took out my laptop and uploaded the file with the 1432 stamp to the Board of Directors folder. This evidence would be crucial in proving Executive Director Jin Woo's corruption. I wanted to clean up internal company issues as well. During this opportunity, Do-yoon approached me. His eyes contained both bewilderment and respect. "Chairwoman, have you been testing me from the beginning?" he asked. "It's not a test, but a confirmation. I wanted to see what kind of person my daughter loves," I answered honestly. I wanted to see what choices he would make in a real situation, not in a forced one. And he had made the right choice. As I left the civil service office, a deep sense of relief washed over me. This incident had become more than a simple verification of a perspective. Son-in-law, it had become a realization of greater justice. And in that process, I was able to confirm that Do-yoon was truly a person of principle. It was a moment of knowing that RG's choice had been right. A heavy silence hung in the boardroom. The screen displayed an enlarged view of the 1432 stamp. That small number had now become important evidence. It was the time stamp from that day, when I was disguised as a homeless person at the civil service office. A moment of destiny, you could say. "I'll explain why this time is important," I said to the board members. My voice was firm, though I'd conducted countless such meetings throughout my life. Today felt particularly tense. Next, I showed the blue ink stain and handwriting analysis results. It was a clue I had deliberately left. The blue ink stain I made while filling out the document with trembling hands had now become crucial evidence. Not a coincidence but an inevitability. Unauthorized night access from the team leader's account has been confirmed in the system logs, the audit officer reported. His voice carried conviction. It was clear evidence that Sang-gon had tried to access the system at night to manipulate records. The marked bill serial numbers and CCTV footage match. The audit officer continued reporting. The serial numbers of the 50,001 bills I had marked in advance were definitive evidence. It was thanks to thorough preparation. And finally, Executive Director Jin Woo's internal emails were revealed. The circumstances of him pressuring Sang-gon and connecting him with brokers were all exposed. His instructions in the emails were clear. It was evidence that could no longer be denied. "As of today, Executive Director Jin Woo is dismissed," I declared firmly. The board members stirred, but no one objected. The evidence was too clear. I also made a decision regarding Sang-gon. Team leader Choi Sang-gon will receive public service education and a service order. While punishment is important, I thought it necessary to provide opportunities for recovery and improvement. I also arranged support measures for his father's dialysis costs. Throughout this process, Do-yoon organized the internal procedures and prepared reports. His principled demeanor shone through. His courage to stand against injustice was admirable. After the meeting, I called my daughter Ja. "People are revealed through actions, not tests," I said. Ja had always complained about how I tested people, but I hoped she would understand that this test was necessary this time. I took out a small box from my office desk drawer. I had prepared it long ago. "This is for Do-yoon," I murmured to myself. It was a special gift, a small token of appreciation for the principles and courage he had shown. Outside the window, the view of Bucheon stretched out. The rain had stopped, and sunlight began to shine. It felt like everything was being cleared up and signaling a new beginning. I learned a lot through this incident. I was grateful for the fact that even as I aged, there was still much to learn. A gentle breeze blew in Bucheon Central Park. It was a peaceful afternoon with children's laughter and the scent of grass in the air. I sat on a bench appreciating it all. Usually, I didn't have time to enjoy such leisure, but today was special. Do-yoon arrived earlier than the appointed time. His appearance conveyed neatness and sincerity. I handed him the box I had prepared. Inside was a pen engraved with "Civil Service is People." A small but meaningful gift. Keep both regulations and kindness, I said warmly. It has been my long-standing belief that while regulations are important, seeing the person within those regulations is equally important. Do-yoon already possessed both qualities, but I wanted to emphasize it once more. A smile spread across Do-yoon's face. Number 317, I will never forget it, he said. He was referring to that ticket number where our first meeting began. It was a fateful number. After all, our connection started from that moment. Ja ran up and linked arms with me. Mom, love is warmer than evidence, she said. There was happiness in her voice. Ja always said I was too rational. But this time, she seemed to understand my actions. From a distance, Gui Rai waved her hand. She too had been a witness to this whole process. Her small courage had helped bring about big changes. Small actions gather to create big waves. A newsflash appeared. Bucheon City Hall starts campaign to eradicate civil service corruption. The small change we started was now spreading as a big wave. It felt fulfilling. Sang-gon stood at the public service center with his father. The darkness from before was gone from his face, replaced by a new determination. I hoped the second chance given to him wouldn't be in vain. I believed that while everyone can make mistakes, they should also be given the opportunity to correct those mistakes. The sunshine was warm. It was as warm as the spring sunshine. So was my heart. What started simply as a test for a prospective son-in-law had now led to a greater realization of justice. It was an unintended result, but definitely the right thing. Chairwoman, does the son-in-law candidate pass? Gui Rai asked playfully. There was laughter in her eyes. I nodded with a smile. Do-yoon was a more excellent person than I had expected. A person who maintains principles without losing warmth of heart. I was happy that such a person would be with our Ja. What are your plans now? Do-yoon asked. His eyes were serious. There's still a lot to do, I answered. Age was no reason to give up dreams. There was still much I could do to make the world a better place. This incident was just the beginning. Suddenly, a message arrived on my phone. Similar cases in other district offices. This fight wasn't over yet. New challenges awaited, but now I wasn't alone. There were Do-yoon, Ja, Gui Rai, and many others who would stand together for justice. As I left the park, I took a deep breath. The wind had changed. A different wind was blowing now. It was a wind of change, and I would continue to move forward with that wind. Age was just a number. What mattered was the mindset. And my heart was still burning passionately for justice and principles. Everyone, have you ever trusted someone and then tested that trust, like I did? Through this experience, I learned that sincerity is stronger than power. And conscience is worth more than wealth. In the end, what truly makes a person shine is honesty and warmth. It's never too late, we can still find the courage to trust again. Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Your likes and subscriptions give strength to stories like mine. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, please share it with them. Thank you for listening, and please stay healthy and well.